museum. Oh, it's going to have to wait. Oh. Hey, Instagram, it's me, T, from the Pattersons, taking the train to Tibet. It's a Friday, and that means in the scheme of things, in my reality, my postings, this is a day for things that I missed or did throughout the week or whatever it is. And I have to take a little departing thing, some stuff that's happened. Put it together, I get a little history, and usually it's like Monday is a me day, Tuesday is a U.S. politics day, Wednesday is a world politics day, Thursday is audio drama day, good day. Friday is, like I said, wrap up or whatever day. Saturday is whatever comes to my head, and Sunday is a reading day. And these Sundays I'm reading Tagore, reading from Tagore. Anyway, but for what I have to do today, I'm sort of combining Monday to a me thing. I have to talk about me a second, or identify me, let's put it that way. And then I'll get into what I need to. And then it'll be like a U.S. thing and a world thing, all that sort of weirdly together. So to begin, let me put it this way. Let me start like this because I have to violate some stuff, I think. If you ever get an email from me, at the end of the email, there's this thing, one of my sayings, and this has been for years. It says, I follow no one and I seek no followers. I follow no one. What that means is I follow no one. I mean no person. I'm following the Great Spirit. You see, in my background, at least on my maternal side, I have Gullah Geechee as a great grandfather, and he is married to an American Indian, if you will, a Mohawk Indian, and they believe in the Great Spirit. I like that Great Spirit, but I like the other stuff. You can say other stuff. And by the way, the other stuff, I've been exposed. Anyway, the other stuff. So what that basically means is all these things that people, I sort of embrace everything, and I follow, but I don't follow, but I'm an acolyte of Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Okay, there's a difference between following and being an acolyte, I guess, in my brain. And Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Has a code book. It's a code. A lot of people say, "Oh, you got to stay on code. You got to stay on code." I don't know what they mean by code. A lot of times people say stuff, but I'm not sure what they mean by that. Now, I found out what Mr. Neely Fuller a long time ago, and I've been listening to his podcast back in the day before he's in his current back, and I even have his I have his compensatory concept book. The original 1984 edition is a big format. The one that he started writing the book in 1957, something like that, when he was in the Korean War, and then he went and then a bunch of people helped him, and he finally got it published in '84, and then I forget when it was, 2006, somewhere around there. No, 2016, I think, somewhere around there, he republished the book in a smaller format, and he broke up into two things, the original book and the Word Guide, okay? And that's where it stands right now. And he has this thing about it's got to be inexpensive so people can get to it and all the rest of that stuff. Got that. Now, I had the original book because my fraternity brother, James Kanye, he gifted it to me because sometimes when I'm in New York, I spend the time at his place. He's got a lot of books, whatever have you, and he gifted it to me. I took it back to South Africa, and I got it rebound, bound from what's called from the press down there. That's in Alice, in the Eastern Cape. Okay, and it was a press that the ANC, a lot of political writings came from. So I got a rebound there. And plus I got all of his other books and I sent it around. Okay, fine. So every once in a while I read out of it with Mr. Pulley, my guy there, and he interprets it in Xhosa, and we read lines, and that's how we do. I bring that up because in the code book, there's certain things you don't do. Like for instance, you don't talk about other people. They do what they do. And you ask a question. They say, "Well, he said what he said." Well, what do you think about something? He said what he said. It's a simple kind of thing. You don't talk. You don't call people out of their name if they say they this. If they say, for instance, you say, "Oh, you're a racist." Well, did they say they were racist? Did they admit to that? Well, then you can't say that they're racist. At the same time, if you can't call them names, we said that. So it's like it's so logical. He deals with logic. He does things he call thought. You think it, speech. You talk it, and then action. Then you go from action from there, right? Now. So let me hold that. Let me hold you to that, right? Now at the same time, next door. I'm in India right now at a guest house, and it's adjoining rooms. Well, anyway, so you might hear some sounds because they're moving around. I guess they have new guests in there. Anyway, so I'm saying that's I respect the code book, but I'm gonna break the code book. I'm going to break some rules of the code book, in this little thing right here, right? Because people say what they say. They're adults. If somebody's over 9 years old, you really can't tell them what to do. That's the whole long and the short of it. Now, the first thing I have to do is, and this is where it gets tricky, so you might have to tune away for like 10 minutes to 5 or 10 minutes, because I have to go into my bona fides. There's a lot of stuff happening, and I want you to know where I come from. My bona fides, meaning that my background, right? Now my background is in, I'm an audio dramatist. I started in New York a long time ago. I'm an activist, right? And I say activist. Look, I guess my activism started when I was like 14, like 1964, when they had the Harlem upheaval or whatever they had back then. So I'm 14, right? And I've been in I told you I got the book from my fraternity brother, which is part of the fraternity is part of they started at New York City Society Cadet Corps, which is an organization that I joined when I was 9 years old. So from 9 years old on, it's like a mentoring program. What is based on like military principles. Cadet Corps. The drum and bugle corps. Like they have drum and bugle corps. The Cadet Corps. They have all kinds of officers training. We had summer camp, winter camp, all that kind of stuff, right? And then you had things like we had the fraternity, and then you have stuff. There's a lot of stuff. And I'm in the fraternity. I made the fraternity when I was 15. When I was 16 years old, I made the fraternity. Yeah, 16 years old. Now, a fraternity is supposed to be like when I'm in Africa. When I'm in Africa, there's a thing called where you go to a bush and basically you become a man. It's initiation into manhood or whatever it is. Now, between 13 and 17 is a good age. It's like right now, what's that? Oh, that's the next door. They're building something. Sorry for all these things, and that's a good age to initiate people into manhood. Boy, I'm not gonna start over. I'm gonna keep on going. These posts, there's no script. I don't edit, whatever, I just rant. This is a tirade, a tea tirade. So that's what it's about. So I basically placed my fraternity at an age that young men go to their manhood, because you're not distracted by. Like after 18 or even 17, you start getting interested in some other things, so you can focus more. Like that, I believe in that. So consequently, that's what it is. Now, these fraternities these days, I'm talking about, my fraternity school is founded by people that were in Greek fraternities and all that stuff. Now, the important part about this is that I'm on the third line. The first line was like pure, like regular fraternity, hazing and all that stuff. You had some stuff you had memorized, stuff like that. But on the second line, that's when a cat named Jerry Donaldson came on board, and in the second line, again, they had a lot of hazing, whatever it is, but they had more intellectual stuff. By the time the third line came around, and there was a lot of people on the first line, the second line. By the time the third line came about, then it was there's still the hazing and stuff like that, but we had a lot more intellectual kind of thing. So it was like a perfect balance. Our only problem was that only 5 of us made it. fact, we called it Rat Patrol because at the time there was a TV series and it was 5 people. Our nickname for our line is Rat Patrol. Now, yeah, and a lot of people pledged their lives, so a lot of people got dropped. A lot of people just gave up, whatever have you. If the, for most of my life up until like 2021, I was like 120 pounds. I'm like 5'8". I've been like 5'8" most of that time. I'm like 120. I was like 120 pounds. Slight, whatever, you know. I didn't even get to like. I think about in my late 20s, 30s, that's when I got to maybe be 130 pounds. But most of my life been slight. The difference is I grew up in the Patterson Project. The difference is, I guess, there's some theme about me. This unyielding thing, this uncompromising thing. It's like I see a thing, I said, oh, that's not going to beat me. In fact, when I was at Livingston College, this is very funny. I was at Livingston College with the first course. I'm sitting down with the orientation because I was a part of it started as the urban development or something like that before it became the communications department. It broke off like that. But I'm sitting there listening to this guy, and I guess I had this intense look on my face. And his sister came and sat next to it. And I kept on looking at the guy, and she said something. I didn't really respond. And then, she said something, and so this is going to be a hard course. I don't think I could. And I just kept on looking. I said, nothing can kick my ass. And she looked, I could see it side of her. She said, I'm staying with you. That was Sinani Bryant. Don't worry about it, but it comes to the factor later on. It's just I always had this thing. If I get intense, I look, and it gets into my being. I mean, it's unstoppable like that. So in a fraternity, even though I'm a slight guy, pretty smart, whatever it is, and these guys are bigger, whatever have you, they could never break me. That's simple as that. I don't know how to explain this to the will. It's part of my lineage. My grandfather, like I said, my great grandfather is Galakichi. My father, I never knew my father, but rumor has it he was basically Garifuna or Griffin, how you want to say it, depending on the Spanish pronunciation or English pronunciation, from Colón, Panama. So that's the conjecture. He was a one-night stand with my mother. So, and then she just forgot him. I asked her many times. She didn't know nothing. She wasn't admitting nothing. And anyway, so the point is, on both sides of me, and since I'm a product of those two, I'm a one of a kind. Let's put it that. Don't mean I have brothers and sisters, but we have 6 different fathers because there's twins in there. But what I'm trying to tell you is that so what happens on both sides, both of my lineage on both sides, at least immediate, right? I come from a class of warriors. And in fact, when my name, what it means is Anthony means incomparable, and Sloan, the English or Anglo translation is warrior. So I am the incomparable warrior. You need to know this, right? Just you need to know. And I'll say what I want to do. I create my own things, all the rest of that stuff. In fact, there's a time when in the Nation of Islam, when Herbert Muhammad, Elijah Muhammad's son broke away, and they had this whole thing. I guess they were Sunni Muslims, whatever they were, and they were just they're talking to everybody, trying to recruit them. And then one came to me and they said, well, and I said, what do you have to do to be a part of your thing? And he says, well, we changed your name, da-da-da-da-da. He went to this whole thing. I said, well, what does that mean? He said, he went to the thing, and then at the end, he said, the person belongs to a certain tribe. And I said, no, it's not me. I don't belong to anybody like that. Okay, let me switch. Now, when I went to Africa, they have a chant, like tourist thing. You come to Africa. Welcome home, brother. We're going to give you an African name. And this is I don't know, it's a trick. This is what they said. I said, oh yeah, what you want to call me, whatever. And they said, well, blah, 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 blah. I said, look, you can call me, and remember there's like 4,000 African, 3,000 African names, what do you call that, languages, whatever, all throughout Africa. So if you're in, say, Senegal, you're speaking Wolof, that's going to be different than if you're, say in South Africa, and you're speaking also, or someplace else, like that. Or even if you have Swahili. You know, they can name you that, but you see. So I said, you can call me whatever you want to call me, but as long as it means incomparable warrior, that's what I am in your language. But my essence is what it is. I'm firm in that, right? Now, and as far as bona fides, so I grew up in the Cadet Corps, and on the Cadet Corps you have all the time. You know, John Henry Clark came in. Everybody came into stuff like that, right? I eventually went into the Air Force. In fact, even through those times, well, before I went to the Air Force, you know, I'm hanging out and you know, with all kinds of, you know, seeing all kinds of things on 25th Street. I'm quite sure I probably saw Malcolm X. I don't remember because of the four corners there and all that stuff. I was hanging out, but you know, Queen Mother Moore, reparations, the whole thing, right? Okay, so now let me move. I'm going to keep on moving because it's going to. I got to get, because I know you all ain't got no patience. But this is when I do these things. This is for archival purposes, and it goes. I put it on my YouTube channel because I don't ask for no likes, no shares. I don't want no money. I don't monetize nothing. So I don't want nothing from you. I want you to start think for yourself, right? So, and all through this 50s, 60s period before I went into the Air Force in 1970, January 1970. Hey, what is today's date? I guess we passed it, but I went to the Air Force in January 13th, 1970. Just to let you know. Anyway, and I got out 74. So, I got January of 74. So, hey, there's some sort of anniversary to me in this month here of January. Yes, January is a moment since I got out the Air Force. And in the Air Force, I was a medic, right? And I was a medic. And I didn't go in country. I didn't go into fight in Vietnam. I wasn't even out the country, you know. And there's a different category for all these folks. I didn't put it that way. But in the Air Force, I was a lab technician. But I organized. I spent most of my time at McGuire Air Force Base at this dispensary there. But right next door was the big Army house, big Army hospital. So any big cases, we just sent them over there. So it was a dispensary. But we had a lot of personnel because at the time of Vietnam, it was over whatever it is. So I organized the dispensary we helped the community. We did sickle cell, sickle cell screening, lead poisoning screening. We did all. I started a group called Black Caucus. Well, not me, but a group I started called Black Caucus. And we did community work. We had these we had concerts. It was amazing, man. And the big brass feared us because remember we just had all the insurrections in the cities. So any black people, that many black people, and coming together, they feared us, right? Now, I say all that to say that when I got, so I basically did the Black Panther stuff. I did it in the Air Force. Let me move on from there. Now, like I said, I knew there's a lot of things that I was doing, like the Harlem State Office building, protests and that, all kinds of things. Like very active. Well, when Wallace came to the guy that ran for president came to Madison Square Garden, any protest, anything that happened there, I'm there, right? I'm like a witness to a lot of things. Okay, so when I get out the Air Force, I end up and I started to write a lot of poetry, write a lot of stuff, and I ended up taking this part-time job at WPRB. Not part-time job, part-time. I joined this thing called Saturday Soul with JB. It's a radio program, and it was like quite a unique radio program. In fact, I think before then and after then, we were on a 6.5 hour radio program, right? And when I came, it was just JB and me, and I was doing the poetry. Like we pick a record. There was a lot of fusion jazz right there, so that would be my background, and I do the poetry over there. Then as we went on, we developed a crew. So we had a crew doing jingles and everything like that. It's quite interesting, right? And I was fascinated what JB was doing. I watched the board. I would just watch him. That's another thing. I usually just watch. I used to just watch, right? Just always questioning, not in my head, and watching. In fact, when I was a kid, people would come to the house, say we have guests at the house, and I would just watch. Inevitably, somebody said, "Stop that child! Just don't look at me. Don't have that child look at me." It's very interesting. But that was my basically my childhood, and there's a lot of other stuff happening. I won't get into that. So when I got out the Air Force, when I was working Princeton part time, doing JB's radio program on Saturday. So, and then when I got out and went to Livingston College, I had my own radio program, right? Called Variations in Blackness. I wish I had those tapes, man. Amazing. And even then, I'm organizing because I brought Sinani, right, and two other cats I brought to the radio to the program I was doing, because at that point you had to have a third-class radio license, and it was supposed to be a very difficult test. Well, I took the test and passed it. They had to give me a program, because this was the broadcast station, RSC, the broadcast station, Rutgers proper. Even though I was going to Livingston College, we had a carrier current just in the thing. So that's the way I did. Hey, Ian, it's going to take a while. This is going to be heavy. I'm sorry, man. You might have to jump out. This is my man, Ian, right now. He's in Cape Town. I help him. Again, I'm just a witness. I'm basically a witness. That's all. I just hang out. You know, I have a vibe. Sometimes I help people. I'm sort of good. Ian has a lot of strain with food and dava like that. And so I'm just sort of like, I don't know. I don't know what I do. I just a presence, right? And plus, I just like Ian. I like his family. You know, we have good times. Anyway, back to the point. So, in the scheme of things, and all through my life, I'm used to groups. You know what I mean? I'm used to small groups like that. So when I did the radio program, it was like we did. Oh man, we had some. I won't get into it, but that's what happened. So, when I finished with when I graduated at Livingston College. I had a couple of years, a year and a half, something like that, where I wanted to go back to theater because I was in theater at Negro Ensemble Company. When they started in 1967 to 1972, I went to Air Force at Negro Ensemble Company. So I had this theater background, and I have this thing. So when I was going to school, even when I was in the Air Force, I had such a whatever job I was getting. My position in the Air Force, people when I was getting out, people were saying like, "Well, why are you getting out?" Because the medics, we basically ran that base. That's a story for another day. So I said, because I got other things to do, and they got you. They can send me to Minot, North Dakota, and I got stuff to do. Meaning I wanted to get back to theater. Even when I went to undergraduate college, I did it to get back to theater. When I left in 1970. So anyway, so I on strength of two plays, I got into the graduate playwriting program at somewhere I started was the School of Performing Arts, but then they changed it to the Mason Grove School of the Arts. Okay, so I was part of that first wave of that, and there was this sister that was a black playwright. She's black. She was a playwright in the playwright program. So we're the only two black people there. Okay. So when you guys do a lot of research, you got to do cooperation groups to pass the test. It's an interesting thing, right? Okay, I'm going to go real quick. I'm going to get to where I'm getting to. So when I got out, when I came back to New York, so it's been like 10 years, the landscape of the thing had changed. All of the actors, all the whatever they had been working with, all the big time actors, they had went to Hollywood. You know, even my teachers, like Marcus Schultz was my first teacher. He's in Hollywood. At Cambridge, the last teacher, well, we had other teachers like Luther James and even Buddy Butler stayed as well. Teaching our class for a while. We were the intermediate class like that. But and all the actors, like, you know, we're talking about Rosalind Cash, Esther Rowe, Moses Gunn, all these people, that Denise Nichols, all these great people at the Negro Ensemble Company at the same time. And, you know, at 18, I was running lights for a play called Daddy Goodness. And all these people at my high school yearbook, everybody signed the book. Too bad I don't have that book. That would be a valuable book, but I don't collect things like that. So anyway, so when I got back, all that thing had been wiped out. They all went to Hollywood, right? And so I'm in New York, and I'm going like, I don't like this. So I became a part of this group called the Attack Group, which is like the technical crew. We would help little theater companies, we would help black theater companies, little companies, how to, you know, with the technical aspects, not really being paid, technical aspects. Let me go back and say something. When I was doing the Negro Ensemble Company, because we were trained in everything, in fact, it was Buddy Butler and Michael Schultz. I think they was working. That was good. think it was working on, not Conky's Harvest, was working on something, well, whatever was there, and I was hanging the lights for it or something like that, and they came to me and they said, Anthony, you're all right actor, like that, but we really need people in the back of the camera. They used to use the term camera. I don't know why. We're in theater. Basically, they said I should do technical work, and that's how I got assigned to at Cambridge, even before I became the theater instructor, and he trained me how to be a stage manager. So I had to say that. Now let's get back. So I get back, and I realized, remember I was doing a radio program thing. So when I come back to New York, the scene was not not a nepotism, like a war kind of thing. It didn't like it. So I really, because I had this radio background, I started listening somehow to WBI. Oh, I know. One of my teachers at Livingston College was Pepsi Charles. Peace and blessings on her eternal. So I love Pepsi, right? And she was doing a program at WBI when it was called the Church on the east side of New York. And and like I said, I was doing a lot of poetry. One of my poetic heroes, if you will, was County Cullen. And at one point, she was interviewing County Cullen's widow at this place. So she invited me, and I came to just, hang out like that. So, but then, I just went, I think that's when when I was in college. Anyway, so when I came back to New York, I knew about WBAI. I started listening. I listened to her on the radio, and then there was this guy on the radio, Bernard White, and his style of program was like the style of program I was doing at Livingston College, Variations of Blackness. So when I got there, I sort of was listening to his program. Let me say this. Let me go back to Variations of Blackness. We did a lot of things, and plus we would. Your college student, people do it. We go up to New York. One time I went to RVR, the old jazz station at the Riverside Church, whatever. The church, where Martin Luther King gave his speech and all a year before, why we don't do the Vietnam thing and all that stuff. But that's when we visited this brother there, and because he would say, we're students, we want, we do a program like that. He was very accommodating, and his program came on, and right after his program, Felipe Luciano had a program, who's part of the Young Law. Well, I don't know, Young Laws is gone by then, but he would play Latin records, because his wife was Nancy Rodriguez, who had an extensive record collection, right? So that's when I met, Felipe, anyway, but the guy that we was visiting, Brother Wayne, his name Brother Wayne, voice in radio, Brother Wayne, he's the one, he gave me the fella, at the time it was fellow Ransom Cootie, I think it was some Egypt 70 or something like this band. It's the couple had 70 like a thing, and then he had all his wives, their breasts are exposed or whatever, because he married all these women. He didn't marry because he wanted for anything like that. He married them to protect them because of Nigeria. Anyway, fellow was very, very, very smart. So I maybe was the first college DJ to play fella on the radio. I've been involved in a lot of firsts. Anyway, let's keep on trying to move this story along. So when I started doing helping with Bernard White emanations, it was just me and him, and I knew how to edit tape, and I put these little things together. In fact, when I talked to him, when we first talked, I said, I like your program. What I can do, I have some skills. I can go out and get some vox called Vox Pop. I can go out and interview people for this. If you know what the subject we're going to do, and we'll do an interview, then we'll play a little 2-minute of the popular voices on the subject you're going to do that. Yeah, good. Let me see what you got. So that's how we started the program. And I would just help them put the records back in the sleeves and stuff like that. That's how you start. But also I would go out and start recording in the community, or of course at the time, Alambe Brath was with the Patricia Lumumba Coalition had these forums like that, and Samori Marksman would have some forums too. So I would go and help collect this. So I met a lot of these folks. In fact, in 1983, 84, around there, when Thomas Sankara took over Burkina Faso, and he came to New York, and of course Alambe knows everybody. He invited him. They had several speeches in New York, but he had one time. I say private, but a semi thing, and I was the recordist there, right? So I met Thomas Sankara, very much. But this, I learned a lot of people like John Stockwell, who had Patrice Lumumba's body in the boot of his car after they killed. Look, a lot of things, you know. I mean, I interviewed or recorded a lot of people back then, and also because certain things I just knew a lot of actors. Plus, in the '80s, you know, like Lloyd Strayhorn's back on the scene. Like, I used to hang out with Numbers of You. I still use that. Okay, you know, Yaqui Awaken. You know, the herbalist, you know, whatever, really good force, and he's inspired by Dr. Sebi. I was hanging out with Dr. Nuts, hang out, but I really wasn't into Dr. Sebi like that. But before Dr. Sebi came in the '80s, you had Dr. Moore, Dr. John E. Moore, that we call him the hobo herbalist. That was I studied under him for like two years, and before that he was a herbalist for the guy for Noma Radio, right? Also on the staff for Noma, people in Noma Radio involved. Noma was James Small. He was our philosophy guy, religious guy. And anyway, so and also that time when I was at what do you call that, First World Alliance, and which James was involved with, because I would go to James Clay. At City College where he was doing this thing, they had an authentic voodoo ceremony, right? So I experienced that. So anyway, James is my guy. Even at First World Alliance, I know you had your James Smalls and James Small, Sister Keffer, brother, Brother Bill, of course you had John Henry Clark, Dr. Ben, all those people like that, Asa Hilliard, all those people have come. Everybody of note was coming through there, just coming through there. So I just checking them out. In fact, a lot of people I knew were recording. I wasn't recording there, but that's like because one of the people I started with, that we started this group called Sound Gatherers. He was one of the people recording like that. Even my fraternity brother, he was with them like that. So he wasn't recording, but he was a John Henry Clark. He helped John Henry Clark. In fact, one of the drivers of John Henry Clark near the end was the great Earl Maitland. Earl Maitland is like that. It's more Earl Maitland some other time. So anyway, there's a lot of us real whatever. I wouldn't call. That's what happened. That was the atmosphere in the '80s, and all through the '80s. That's why I'm recording. A lot of knowledge. Now you have to understand, when you're a recordist, you're recording, right? So you're hearing all this, but you're paying attention to you, so you can catalog right there. Then since we're in radio, I got to take those recordings to the station, transfer it from the cassette to like 1/4 inch, and do the editing like that. So I'm hearing whatever the thing is, like 3 and 4 times I'm here. So and it might be, you might have the recording like this. It's an hour, or it's like, even somebody I'm helping this at WBI station, like somebody might have 3 hours or whatever it takes, and I'm helping them edit down or whatever. So my knowledge has nothing to do with I'm smart enough like that. Said that if you hear something 3 or 4 times and it's intense stuff, you got to pay attention, you got to edit and stuff like that. It don't like this osmosis. It gets into your brain, right? So now I'm going to jump. Now we're going to get to the point. I swear we're going to get to it. At some point in there, I did my thing. I became arts director and whatever have you, and I did a lot of incredible audio drama plays and like that. And I finally wanted to leave that situation because remember, I'm an audio dramatist doing audio drama, but as an arts director, it's like an administrative job. I'm going like, no, here we go. I'm an artiste. Audio dramatist. I ain't no manager or something like that. Even though I changed the department, turned the department around with no training, because I used the principles of being a stage manager to manage the department, which was an unyielding department. I was a music director, along with the head of the drama and literature department, and along with all of the critics, like the dance critic, the music critic, concerts, the film critic, all these things. So I had a lot of people that had to whatever have you. But I just treated like I was a stage manager, like a play, right? And then I did my audio drama. I used that. I said, look, I'm still going to do my audio drama. So I did it every once in a while. I do that. A lot of things like that. Okay. Now, Now, then I leave that and I start traveling, doing audio drama, do workshops all over the world, and teach using audio drama to basically recruit people to community radio, right? And I do it with no money. I just you didn't have to. Don't worry about that. It's a little history of me. And then I finally ended up saying there's a whole bunch of things happen. Like at one point, as part of the World Association of Community Broadcasting, called AMOC, is a French acronym. And at one time, I could have been the North American representative, worldwide North American representative. But see, I have to say I'm principal. And I could have easily, people love me and all this. I was doing audio dramas with them too. But I said no. They said why? Because they spoke three languages. The organization you had English, French, and Spanish were the three languages. I knew a little Spanish, no French, right? English. And I thought whoever was going to do that, they need to have at least two really good things. And plus, I wasn't interested again being a manager or that kind of I wasn't interested in that. So I let them have their way. Okay, so now I'm in South Africa and I'm applying my trade. I'm doing audio drama all in the townships. I'm doing all this little incredible workshop. In fact, Ian saw I did a thing called, I used to do these workshops called 24-hour conclaves, where you start at 4 in the afternoon. You do this go overnight. They get all kinds of things. You get a workshop and music. You workshop and sound effects. You workshop. They're working on their script. It's an amazing thing. And then we present the next day. So you start at 4 o'clock. You overnight we're showing films, examples, talking, whatever. Then about 12 o'clock. Then the next day we have a meal. Then at 2 o'clock we perform, and then it's over at 4. So it's 24-hour called conclave, right? And in fact, that's how Ian. That's how I love Ian. If you came to one of my audio dramas, I'm a friend for life. I don't care. In fact, James Small was in one of my when we did my group. We did in 1991 when they was coming home from the first Iraq War. We did the first. I forgot to tell you that. I put Jay Smooth. I put him on the air at 16. I guess he was 16, 17, whatever. He was 16. I trained him in radio. He was on the air. Actually, he's turning 17 before he was out of high school, and he had Jay Smooth's Underground Railroad. That's the first hip hop program, at least on community radio or on radio's broadcast radio, if you want to put it like. Yes, I'm the one who did that. Anyway, so with that group with creativity, we did this thing called Operation Welcome Home, right? And then I put everything together. I always produce my thing, and James and Sophia Bendele, I used them as they were like orishas, I had them orishas there. And this play was like that hip hop. It's like all these elements like that. So because James was in one of my plays, again, for life. If you're in one of my audio dramas, boom, we like kinds of people. Back to the point. I'm sorry, I'll get to the point now. So I'm going to all South Africa, and I'm using audio drama as a community development thing, and also a literacy thing. Okay, all right. Now I'm in. Then I went back to graduate school, and I have a group in Dimbasa, and now we have this whole thing with theater and everything like that. Now, as I'm sitting, when I moved to Alice, University of Fort Harris, where I was at for postgraduate studies, and about 2014 is when I officially got there, got the internet set up. So that's where I am. I moved around. Finally ended up in a place called Lembete, which is Alamanzi is the township, and then Lembete is a little point named after Anton Lembete, who was a what do you call it, ANC Youth League, a big time actor. So anyway, so that's where I was, and I set up my little. By that time I was posting on my YouTube, and I'm because of the university, I got I could get the connection. You know what I mean? So I didn't have to pay no money. I guess that's why I was really there. Instead of using I pay my student fee, but then I had access to the internet and all that stuff. Some reason on the internet, and some minding my own business. And then I see, then ADOS pops up. Now, I've been monitoring people. Arami, I used to listen to his program because I have a passing interest in philosophy. Then I saw that Yvette Cornell. She had this kerfuffle with the Nation of Islam. She said something about Farrakhan, and of course the people came and they had this back and forth. The way she handled it, I said, oh, this is interesting. And then before you know it, she got together with I mean, they had a program, but she also got together with this lawyer from L.A. and they basically they had a conference at Dr. Kevin Costner's thing in St. Louis. Not St. Louis, what was it? Louisville, you know, near where Lamar Jackson, football. Anyway, with Louisville, they came up with ADOS, American Descendant of Slavery. Now, the thing is, it's an all right name. I understand and when they say slavery, they meant the institution, not the condition, to put it that way. But as an academic, you fill in things. So for me, in my head, I'm saying, oh, you got to be more specific. I don't say that. It's like, to me, it was like the North American descendants of chattel slavery. To me, that's what you should be. That's the name it should be. So they were pumped in, and I like what they were doing because actually when I first learned about South Africa, they said there's a spider in the southern region of Southwest Africa, and this spider it makes these big webs, you know, these nodes, so they can catch bigger food, you know, some big animal, so they all can feast on that. So they cooperate. They have nodes. This node's an interesting word because bricks now, they have these nodes right there. So that's why I'm looking at ADOS. I'm saying, oh, this is a brilliant kind of thing. And plus, they're about activism, the work. You know, I mean, they're doing specific work for reparations, right? Shortly after they saw, then Tariq comes on the scene, right? And that whole situation. So I'm telling you how. It's recorded in my YouTube channel. I have this whole ADOS thing. You can see the growth of this stuff. I said, oh, now people start. Oh, then these guys in Cobra. But I didn't know them when I was hanging out. I didn't know them back in the '60s. You know, maybe I did know. Anyway, so they felt some sort of way because ADOS was giving some momentum, right? And so they were all in their feelings about this. In fact, here's the funny thing. Oh, then at the same time, so like Tariq came on board, and then let's call it the whole B1 crowd came on board, right? But I'm just telling you, the activation, I know, like I said, Queen Mother, before then, I forgot the other woman, before then, there's always been reparations, but with anything, a movement, it has to have a face, or it has to gain momentum. It has to be, something always exists, but who popularizes it? You see what I'm saying? When you popularize it, then then it hits. It becomes part of the fabric of consciousness, right? So, what's up, people? Those people, you know, the academic, they had their little organization, organization in Cobra for years, and they started in I guess the late '60s too, and they had these position papers. But there was one incident. This is so funny, where there was something happening in Washington, D.C., and then, you know, the ADOS people were quite aggressive, you know, and so when in Cobra, these people who had been, you know, I don't know what to call them. Anyway, they had this guy there. He wore this African sort of yellow thing, and they started calling him Big Bird, right? So one of the cats was talking to him, and this guy went off, all emotional. I don't know why they get emotional. And he swung it, and it's like a fight, hit him with something like that. Well, that cat, I don't remember his name. I can look it up, but I don't remember. He worked for Sirius Satellite Radio, right? It was something with the whole Sirius Karen Hunter crowd. I'm gonna start naming names. Forgive me. This is gonna be Hunter crowd and stuff. Oh, little note. Let me just say something else. Talk about witness. Sirius Satellite used to be XM Radio, which was terrestrial, and Sirius was the satellites. It was satellite radio, so it reached the entire country rather than regional. But it was started by this Canadian who had the cell phones, telecommunication. And this is a great story. Here's how he started. He wanted investors up there in Canada, so he rented out this like office space, and then he invited investors on a weekend. And so he just had like some people working like that. So they came and said, oh yeah, they invested in his idea, but he really didn't have a company. It's very smart. Then he made his money. Then he came down to the States and started Sirius Satellite Radio. Now these satellites were so far up. There was 3 of them that covered the United States. And well, there were 3 of them like that. But when Sirius was first starting up, there was nothing. We had you had to wire the studios and everything like that. At night, one person would monitor these satellites. If anything happened, you had to deal with it. Guess who that person was? Guess my night job was to basically I'm wiring up all these studios. That's what I'm saying. I don't know why. I just end up being a witness to everything. I call myself a scout. That's different than a spy. A spy, they may do something, but then they alter the information they give. A scout just see what they do and they report back. There's no editing. They don't give the person what they think they should hear. That kind of thing. Anyway, so I'm just saying that all these. Let me leave it alone. Anyway, so these are bona fides. So at BAI, one of the things at some particular point, and I had several programs. I engineered democracy now, whatever, when they had their transition. It's a whole long story. But I had my own program. At some particular point, right before I left in the 90s, and this is before the reparations started. In 2000, I had an incident with the sea. So and I was out, you know what I mean? And of course I didn't have any money, but some listeners would send me some money to whatever. Then somebody figured I was a veteran, so I got whatever it is. But I got a letter. It says postmark 2002, because when I signed off the air, I used to say, I'm Anthony Reparation Sloan, like reparations was my middle name. Just wanted to tell you that. This is what I'm talking about, 2002. I have the letter, I have the postmark right there, so I can prove I don't just have receipts or invoices. I have bona fides in the movement from 1964 on, right? Anyway, so that's why when I saw ADOS, you know what I mean, I said, oh, reparations, that's good. When outside, I have to laugh at. Look, everybody has their thing to do, and we should let them do that thing, but they shouldn't be beefing on each other, because at the beginning, Yvette would be calling out. Professor Black's truth, or they said that they're faceless. They whatever. And then Tariq would be beefing on them. There'd be some sort of beef between. And then the Cobra's trying to get in there. Everybody, black people. What can I tell you? Anyway, so I'm looking at all this stuff. In fact, the first ADOS conference I was there in St. Louis. The second one I was there too. There's a little incident happened with there, and it was ugly, but. I respect ADOS. I think what they're doing is good. I think the organization is great, but I personally can't. I wish them well, but I personally can't hang with them because of certain things, right? Okay, now Tariq. I'm sorry. Every time I think of Tariq, I laugh. Even that when Tariq did when he did one of his Hidden Colors things, the one he was supposed to go to England and they banned him from England. So I was at the premiere that would happen at 23rd Street at the School of Visual Arts Theater, even School of Visual Arts. I was an artist model at School of Visual Arts for okay. All these things are so weird, that's all one together. So I was there at that period, and Tariq, nobody knew Tariq came in, so I saw Tariq, shook his hand, whatever, he was mobbing him, Tariq is tall. And so, what I'm trying to say is these people, they start getting this like incorporate, they start getting, people want to be stars. I don't know what they want to be. I'm not saying they want, it happens. Now, the reason why I love Tariq, I like Tariq because, like, you can't out-troll Tariq. That's his function in the thing. He's not in charge of anything, right? Whereas, say, Yvette is in charge of a group. In Cobra people, I don't know what their thing is, but this Big Bird guy, that they call him Big Bird, he got fired from Sirius. I'm bringing it back. He got fired from Sirius because of that incident. And they went into a whole, because he got fired because of ADOS, right? But here's the important part. That guy and all that crowd, the Karen Hunter crowd, this whole crowd like that, they were all in Cobra, like the car guy, gray car, like that. And so they took it personal. And they started beefing on ADOS, and then eventually beefing on B1 Brigade. And it's like, I'm going like, has anybody been in the military? When you have a movement, you have this people can do that, this people, and you all have the same thing. But you don't be the troops. The medics can't be fighting with the thing because you're a medic. the infantry can't be fighting. The pilots can't be fighting. You're an army. We're at war. We're on the same side. If you want reparations or you sort of black liberation, you can't be sniping your troops. And our uniform is your melanin. Your melanin is your uniform, and they know that. I don't get that. So I want to say this. Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., who like I said, I have things with him too, y'all need to stop it. Just cease and desist. Your enemy is not each other. Then you got all these people coming in here. I'm not talking about the tethers. I'm talking about people. I remember Ron, whatever, he came and attacked ADOS, and now when reparations come, he wants to be on the board on one of the everybody's pimping the reparations movement. Man, if I could, you all need to get some noogies like that. So I call them, you got your Negropeans like that. You got your, anyway. Now as we go along, now we have this whole thing with the phenomenon of Donald Trump. I call him the Donald. First of all, people they the orange man, and then he was fighting against him. Let me tell you once again. I said this from the beginning. Donald Trump is smarter than you are, and he has the resources now. He had the resources before, but he's a racist. Did he call himself a racist? Look, let me not get into that. But I call him the Donald. He comes from Queens. He was raised by basically gangsters. I'm talking about the Cohen guy, but I'm talking about he's raised by the mob. That's why I call him the Donald, the Don old. Now to his face, I would say President Trump. But he's the Donald. He's the Don. Don't you get it? He's the Don. He gangster. You cannot, you who have no army, Pan-Africanism, activists, blah, 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 Marxists, blah, 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 blah. You ain't got no army. He's the commander-in-chief of one of the biggest armies in the world. And you busy fighting amongst yourself and trying to fight a commander-in-chief who has an army? That don't make no sense. Now, the reason I'm saying this now, and I'm calling out certain people, and then, let me not get started with Barack Obama and Michelle, whatever have it. Think about this. The first black president, the first melanated president, let's call him that, right? He's a betrayer. Forget betraying black people. He betrayed his own troops when he got elected because he basically had this whole thing with the internet, using the internet, whatever, and became president. But he took all those things and gave it to the DNC, who had by that time moved because of Big Bill Clinton, then moved on to become more Republican and Republican. So it blows my mind that people can't see this. And you got and the Donald always do something to mess with you. He's the ultimate troll. I think the only person that can out troll the Donald is Tariq. That's all I'm saying, right? So here's the thing. Like in his first term, he pardoned Jack Johnson. Okay, no big thing. Joe Biden, I don't know why, he just pardoned Leonard Peltier. Whoa! I have this thing. A lot of these folks, especially these COVID people, or these people from the Civil Rights Movement, or from SNCC, one of your A-Trap Brown, whatever his name is, he's in a jail in Arizona for some trumped up charges, and you ain't doing nothing to get him out. And you got people at lawyers, you ain't doing nothing to get him out of jail. I don't get it. And this is your comrade. You SNCC people. I'm talking about Marima Ani. I'm talking all them people. What's the other woman? The author Alice Walker. All these people that say they were part of SNCC and whatever have you. Your comrade is in jail. You can't even get him out. You're beefing about all the. Come on. That don't make no sense to me. You can't even get your you can't get a pardon for this person. Mamiya is okay. Let me leave Mamiya alone because you're gonna go crazy with that, right? It's like, hey, when I was with Bernard, before Mamiya, when the move was happening, he was a reporter for WDS, whatever, radio, and Bernard, you know, Emanations, we had him on the phone when he was reporting about all the stuff that was happening there. So I even talked about. My point is, if it's been there, I know these things, and I can tell you, you are not going to beat them. So consequently, so what do? Here's what I say. They got their commander-in-chief. Now, you have to remember, I'm a veteran. So in a weird sort of way, Donald J. Trump is also my commander-in-chief. I know. But let me leave that alone because you're not going to get that. But I knew things. So instead of you beefing on each other and trying to fight the Donald, you know, and just with your mouth, with your memes or whatever have you, instead listen to we love Barack Obama, but he's betrayed you. And Michelle, oh my gosh. Let me say this. I'm 5150. I'm part of the 5150 people. And Corey Holcomb is our leader, is our commander-in-chief. And he did a program, he said, everybody, we say certain things. And you have to understand, Michelle Obama really messed up. In fact, let me tell you something. When I was like in 2008, when he became president, I was in Swaziland, well, Eswatini right now, and I was there because they had I was visiting, whatever. But at the time I was there, they was just starting this poetry thing. They were reactivating poetry, and I was one of the people in that poetry kind of session. But I was there. There was a sister. And because I was American, you know, so she asked me, Michelle, everybody says that Michelle Obama is pretty. She's not pretty. This is an African woman saying, she's not pretty. I agree. Michelle, you don't think just because she ain't got no weight on her, and she maybe got somewhat of a rat, Michelle Obama is not really that good looking. I'm telling you, that's what she said. I agree. And she's stylish, you know. I do have to say she's a house kitty, you know, where she's in the house music, you know, so I sort of have an affinity towards that, you know, the shelter and all that. So I'm a house kitty too. But what she just did, you don't understand. She's a first lady. She was a first lady. She's not hanging out with the other first lady. But forget the first lady thing. Her man, an ex-president, has to be with the other ex-president. She, even if she don't want to be with him, that's her husband. In these kind of functions, you got to be with your husband. You can't be at I'm taking a vacation. I don't like that guy. Well, she was up there hugging on George W. Bush, just a while ago. She liked Joe. She didn't like Joe because he said this and he said that. And I'm gonna speak up for emotional. I'm gonna speak all the sisters we got, and everybody shaking their head, and everybody, you know, da. If you ever meet me, and if we're talking extensively, and at some point, if I say, I'm sure you're right. You know what? I'm gonna translate. That means you're an idiot. So I'm telling you right now. I won't say I'm through. I'm just the last. I'm not going to comment what's happening. You know what's happening because Donald Trump can where he go. You can't beat him. Okay, you can't beat him. You ain't got no army. You're not smart enough. And I'm not even going to say I'm not a Donald Trump whatever. I'm not even going to say that. I'm just going to give you the facts. But here's the question. You see, I got my green side of my Ogun on. Got my green side. Right now, the Sahel states, you know, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, they've started a thing. And that group keeps on growing, just like the BRICS keeps on growing, right? My commander-in-chief, who I choose, is Captain Ibrahim Traore. Now, he is a leader that you're talking about. You know, let's say the successor in the lineage of Thomas Sankara, who I met, like I said. So if you don't agree with Donald Trump, then just leave that alone. Leave that alone. Stop commenting on that. You need to be supporting the Sahel. Now, in that pantheon, Gota, the Mali guy who has the green beret, you know, I identify with him. I'm always identified with something else. I know everybody, Commander Ibrahim. He said, he's I call him Commander Captain Ibrahim. Yeah, I call him Commander Ibrahim, Captain Torre. Who had everybody, because he's the one that's bringing it to the fore. He made popularized. But remember, there's him. Then there's the guy from Niger, right? Now Ibrahim has he wears the red beret. The guy from Niger, he wears a brown beret. But I say like brown is a gradation of black. So for me, and then of course my guy from Mali, he has a green beret. So you have the red, the black, and the green right there. Well, you Pan-African, isn't that your thing? You got your red. Why? So why you? And you rejecting the red, white, and blue, even though you're American. You rejected the Donalds, right? Okay. So who's your commander in chief? I'll wait. When your commander in chief, as the name said, got to have an army. And all together right now, black people got to come to black. Look, Africa. These guys are forcing Africa to come together and to kick the colonizers out for real. That's more of an important movement than your little bickering and talking bad about Donald Trump. And here's the thing, if you shut up, I'm sorry, not shut up, if you do what you're supposed to do, which is basically get the reparations, because then as in diaspora, at least, and everybody, the Haitians get their reparations, whoever get their, so all these people get their reparations. Now you have the funds, the money, whatever have you, to support the diasporians, if I can say it, to support the Africans that have come together. It's a perfect movement. I need that analysis. I don't want to call anybody else. I don't need so much. We need to have another international conference, and we're going to talk about Marx and how we're going to do that. No, then you're still blah, blah, blah. You need to support the Sahel people and what they're doing. They're bringing all these people in. Nigeria and Kenya. And, all these folks are coming in, That's what you're supposed to be doing. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. Look, Ellen Josephine Baker, I did a thing on her funeral, man. Let me tell you, she had asthma. And when she would sit with these young people in SNCC, she'd be in the back of the room with a handkerchief over her mouth for the asthma. Because these are times we were like smoke-filled rooms. If you're not willing, you will mention her name. You will mention her, whoever, or whoever, Malcolm, whoever like that. But you stuck in that thing. Who is you? Which is I'll as B1 says, they'll land their plane. I will land my helicopter here. See, I'm always original, I tell you. By saying, I'm encouraging everyone, no matter who you are, start your YouTube channel, some kind of presence online, and tell your truth. The more you got out there, don't worry. Even if you think you're wrong, don't worry. You'll be corrected. The internet will correct you. But just keep on telling your truth. You see? But for goodness sake, because if you're reacting by definition, if you're reacting to the Donald, you're a reactionary. You are a reactionary. What is your action with no troops? Okay, so I'm gonna leave it there because what I'm doing, like I said, I'm an audio dramatist, and so I'm working on stuff right now to deal with that. I ignore what the Donald is doing. Let me put it. There's other people that can do that. You can do that, right? My interest is in health. So what you'll see my postings here has to do with health. Sometimes I send things to people thinking developmental things, especially with children and stuff like that, health, and of course I tirade on things like this. Okay, so I got to go because I didn't talk too long, but just to tell you, no, I'm not going to comment on this stuff. Not what's going on in the States. There's more important things for the ultimate liberation of melanated people. Not only, remember, melanated people are the tip of the spear that will get the yoke of all this stuff on. So it's not just melanated people, but we're the example that other people on that spear can pierce the armor, can pierce the troops of those forces that that are inhumane, that are unjust, as Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. would say. All right? Okay. Got that off. I'll talk South African now. I promise you, I ain't gonna say no more about your rep, whatever y'all doing, whatever you do, the beef the groups have, or whatever. I swear I'm ignoring that. My interest right now is in the Sahel and what's happening in Africa. Bishop Joshua just supposed to be up in Burkina Faso now. So this stuff is coming together. You know, PLO Lumumba. So this Africa is coming together. We got people in Kenya that's putting Commander Ibrahim. Ibrahim image all over the place. Pretty soon, all of Africa is going to start putting this image. So, so that's the face of liberation, of the ultimate liberation. But there's other people involved. I personally, I'm with the Mali guy, Goethe, Colonel Goethe. I'm basically I'm one of his troops. You know what I mean? I know I respect Captain Toure, but and Nigel, I respect them. But my guy is the beard guy. Talk to you later.